So, proceeding further, I introduced my topic that non-Muslims under the Muslim rule, which is very important topic from today's perspective in India. What is happening that there is a quite of bitter acrimony between Muslims and the other non-Muslims. So, and that they always take reference from the previous rules of the Muslim rulers in India, that how Muslims were treated, badly treated, without giving importance to the sources and without citing any concrete evidence that what Muslim rulers had done to the non-Muslim section of the society. So this kind of confusion should be removed. That this massive 800 years rule of the Muslims rulers in India, it should be highlighted that no such things had happened, which is being, exploited like anything, that the Muslim rulers had done massive injustice to the non-Muslims in India. So in this light, I have chosen this topic, the non-Muslims under the Muslim rules. I owe a lot from discussion with Professor Sayyid Jamaluddin, the director, IOS Aligarh chapter Historical Society. That's so. I thank Dr. Jamal, Professor Jamal also for this. Islam came to this world for the betterment of the humanity. It is, the religion was, there's the Quranic phrase, the verse is said that let there be no compulsion in religion. So, with this guidance from Quran, we find that wherever Islam spread, with this, they took this message to those part of the world, that those who are interested to join Islam or path to Allah, or if they are not comfortable, they cannot. They are free to join or not join. I mean, that was the phrase. Also, the Surah Kafirun 109 says that unto you your religion and unto me my religion. So when Islam spread across the Arabian Peninsula, there were several non-Muslim entities were there who came under the Muslim rule, and they have been treated as per Quranic injunction, and several hadiths also support the injunction from Quran that there should be no such discrimination on the basis of religion. And Islam, means peace, means way to Allah, a better option for the humanity. So, they were given chance, the non-Muslims to join but there will be no compulsion to them. This was the message from the beginning of in the Arabian Peninsula. Then we also find Constitution of Medina, a formal agreement between Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the significant tribes and families of Medina. Declared that non-Muslim in the Ummah shall have the several rights. Security, the word came Zimma, Zimmi. The Zimma of God is equal for all groups. Non-Muslim members have equal political and cultural rights as Muslims. They will have autonomy and freedom of religion. Non-Muslim will take up arms against the enemy of the Ummah and share the cost of war. There is to be no treachery between the two. Non-Muslim will not be allowed to take part in religious wars with the Muslims. Non-Muslim will take up arms against the enemy of the Ummah and share the cost of the war. There is to be no treachery between the two. Non-Muslim will not be obliged to take part in the religious wars of the Muslims. There were several provisions, and this was another important policy. That document relates to the regulation pertaining to Zimmi is really referred to as per Pact of Hazrat Umar. traditionally believed to be between Caliph Umar and conquered Jerusalem Christians in the 7th century. Now, in this context, the rules were set apart, established, and wherever Islam progressed, the conquest progressed, they provided these frameworks that the non-Muslim would be treated equally, and there would be no kind of exploitation, no kind of harassment, no kind of treachery to them. If they live in peace and all that, that was the condition. So the Muslims paid. This I'm making clear in the beginning also, because I will take up the Mughal Empire also. Muslims were told to pay zakat. Zakat was directly, it was for the governance, it was meant for the running the administration, and it directly goes to the Baitul Mal, which was the state exchequer. So, in lieu of protection given to the non-Muslims, what should be their duty as far as the state was concerned? So, in lieu of zakat, they were told to pay jizya. Jizya was not a kind of punishment tax of a sort of punishment, but it was rather a contribution from the non-Muslim to the Islamic state. So, jizya is quite clear, which is also very debatable in India, that jizya was imposed as part of the punishment to the non-Muslim or something like that. There were also cases like kharaj, jizya, and other sort of things were also but there. So these things to be made quite clear that jizya was not punishment; it was part of the maintenance. For example, how the administration of the state would be conducted, or the rules should be regulated. There should be some kind of contribution to the state. So jizya was just a simply contribution to the state. It was meant for all. It was meant for Jews, Christians, Sabians, or any people of the book that we call Ahle Kitab. Those who are not Islam, those who did not join Islam, they were also supposed to pay these kind of taxes in lieu of the zakat. Similarly, we find, it was basically meant for providing protection to the non-Muslim section. Apart from providing other benefits also from the state. So it was not a punishment, but it was basically a kind of participation in the state functioning and participation in the state evolution of the state. Law and order, of course, in Islam was Islam's most cornerstone is that the Islamic state should function on the basis of adlu insaf. Adlu insaf. As part of the Quranic injunction that without adlu insaf, no Muslim state should function. That is why it was there are several instances that if a Muslim had committed something wrong with the non-Muslims, then the punishment was equally severe to the Muslim offender. In Arab Peninsula, we find a lot of cases during what you call Khulafai Rashidin. So there was no sparing the offender or the criminals or those who did wrong to any non-Muslim. So it means that it was purely the state was purely running on the basis of adl. Adl was the cornerstone of the Islamic state. It continued down to 12th century, if I say like this, because about till up to the Abbasid Caliphate, justice was prevailing all over the Arabian Peninsula, and there are several instances of promotion of justice and other insaf, and giving, all kinds sorts of relief to the non-Muslim subjects also. Now we also now we take you to the Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire. The caliphate was when Mongols attacked Baghdad and destroyed the Abbasid Caliphate, the last caliphate, Al-Multasibila. He was killed, and then the entire the onus was now on the for the protection of the Islamic ideals and all that. It went to the Ghazis of the Osman Lilar, the Osmani people. Then Ottoman Empire came into being, and it became stronger. They also they also established their state on the basis of injunction from Quran, Hadith, Sharia. Promulgation of Islamic rules, and all the justice was done according to the Islamic principles and all that. So they became the harbinger of this peace and tranquility, and also they they became the carrier of the banner of Islam. There is one quotation from Al-Kindi. He said that the Prophet was quoted saying that those who will fight for the sake of Allah, spend the treasury in the way of Islam, and also establish an Islamic state. They will become they will acquire Kizil Elma. Kizil Elma, the red apple, that they all reference was to Constantinople or Constantinian, this Byzantine Empire. So there was already a kind of prophetic tradition existing over there, that the Islam will reach to the Constantinople, and the Ghazis will conquer Islamic State. The Ghazis will conquer the Constantinople, and they will definitely. As per the Quran, this quotation which I have just referred, that the Prophet was saying that those who will spend treasury in the way of Islam, they will be called as Ghazis. So definitely they became Ghazi, and they conquered a vast empire, Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire came under Islamic rule. Now, in that context, the Ottomans, we find that the Ottomans, the Byzantine Empire particularly, was full of, obviously it was a Christian stronghold, Eastern Roman Empire. And also along with that, Christians, there were a number of other nationalities were also living there. So the Armenians, the Druze, the several other communities were there. Now, how the Islam, they could not be converted, or they could not be converted, or they did not convert to Islam, but definitely they came under the rule of the Ottoman Empire. So, how the administration should be run and how they would be treated, we come to know the term known as Vilayat. So there was a number of vilayats of these different communities. and they were being governed under their own rules. This is what happened. That they were not forced to accept the Islamic rule, but Armenians were being governed by their own rule. Jews were governed by their own rules. So these kind of things were made very amply clear that there would be no coercion to other communities in the Ottoman Empire as far as the religion was concerned. So it was definitely that set a kind of standard for Islamic rule. Of course, it was an Islamic state. Of course, it was based on the Quranic injunction and Sharia rules, and also for governance, it was Nizamul Mulk Tusi and others, other scholars, Islamic scholars. They provided the set for governance in Ottoman Empire. That and also not to forget that it was also the it was what you call Adl was very much there. Adl was the cornerstone of the Ottoman Empire also. So I mean, what you call Ummah. Ummah was on the one side and Millat was on the other side. Ummah for the entire Muslims of the world, which Ottomans perceived as their own, not subject, but also as part of their, brotherhood. Ummah was brotherhood. Millat was, the Millat system was for the non-Muslims. So Millat system, for example, Christian millets in Istanbul, meaning by that, there would be the patriarch, Christian patriarch, who would provide the rules and regulation to the Christian subjects in Istanbul. So they also came up with this millet system. It is quite clear that there was hardly any sense of discrimination, sense of exploitation, or sense of coercion as far as the Islamic rule is concerned. There might be some kind of what you call exceptions and all that. It was a very big empire. It was spread. Ottoman Empire was spread across half of the Europe, half of the entire Eastern Europe was under Ottoman control, which has several denominations, Christians and other nationalities, and also we also find that it was also spread across the African peninsula. Then also we had vast part of the now what you call the republics of Soviet Union. It was there, and Ottoman Empire was in the Middle East also, where we also have several denominations of people. So providing a kind of set of rules and regulations for the entire Ottoman Empire, what was an extremely daunting task for the Ottomans, but Ottomans came up with very unique solutions that the Muslims should be ruled according as per the Sharia Quranic rules, whereas non-Muslims should be treated equally, on equal footing, but definitely under their own religious laws and all that. So these two, Arabian Peninsula, under the beginning of the Caliphate, and then up to the Abbasid Caliphate, that we find that there was clear-cut rules and regulations, and also the Ottomans also had the same kind of things. So European writers always blame the Ottomans for some kind of atrocities to the Armenians and all sorts of things. It continued down to what they say that down to World War II also, that the Armenians were being massacred or something like that. There might be some kind of, I told you that there might be some exception, or when you revolt against your own state, then definitely a state will take cognizance of the act you do. So there might be some exceptions, but what I find that I teach Ottoman history also. So I hardly found that there was any kind of discriminatory practices against the non-Muslims in the Ottoman Empire. Now, come to the conquest of India. During 8th century, but particularly Sindh, region of Sindh, a very, initial conquest of India. You see, Sindh was being governed by the Brahmin ruler, and there was confrontation between the Brahmins and the Buddhists, which is this fact is very, it's not had been very much highlighted, but there was a case that Buddhist subjects were being persecuted by the Brahmin rulers. Chachnama explicitly mentions that such instances called that, which is the history of the Sindh with the Islamic conquest. So they were craving for someone to rescue them. The rulers of the subjects of Sindh were asking for some kind of help from some other parts of the world, and that came in the form of the Arab conquest of the Sindh. I'm not making a case between the Brahmins and the Buddhists, but the thing is that there were some kind of atrocities and all that, and then Sindh was occupied. Sindh was occupied a very, it was the first Arab conquest of Indian part of Indian peninsula, and after the conquest, we find that there was a conciliatory policy. They were told to accept the Muslim rule. Because you had no option when someone is conquers you, have to accept all those things. But as far as religious and other practices were concerned, they were left to practice their own whatever the rituals or religious practices they were doing. They were told to, they were free to do all those things. There was establishment of peace with the taxation system, which was some bit harsh. This can be called that. There was certain anomalies, but taxation system was harsh. Up to Hejaz's rule in 1740, there was a kind of conciliation going on between the two communities. But later on, we find Walid bin Abdul Malik, when he died, his younger brother Suleiman succeeded as the caliph. And he was a bitter enemy of Hejaz's family. He recalled Muhammad bin Qasim from Sindh, and he obeyed the order as the duty of the general. When he came back, he was put to death on 1715, July 1715 AD, at the very young age of 20. So after that, things went vary. But whatever happened during this short period, we find that it was a great historical moment which brought social and economic development in tribal region of Sindh. The law and order was established, peace and culture developed, education spread, trade with the Arab world was set up, and it prospered. Sindh prospered under the Islamic rule. in the initial Arab rule over the Sindh. Even the cases of repairing of certain temples which were destroyed during the war with the Islamic attack, rules from the attack from the Arab army. So there is no qualm, there is no cases of bitterness and something like that. The Hindus developed respect for the Arabs. Hinduism and Islamic culture existed side by side, and the two religions had healthy exchanges of cultural unity, led what is known as the Sindhi culture that developed during that time. Now, moving on to the what you call conquest of mainland India, particularly northern India, by the what we termed as the historian we term as a Delhi Sultanate. A Delhi Sultanate, meaning by that Delhi as a capital with periphery. I mean, wherever the ruler, it depended upon the ruler's conquest of the areas, the Delhi Sultanate expanded significantly. So, this phenomena of what you call, conquest of the Mamluk Sultan and the Khaljis, the Tughlaqs, Lodhis and Tughlaqs and others, that made this Sultanate period a significant development as far as the what you call assimilation or collision or assimilation of the two civilizations, Indian civilization and the Islamic civilization. Of course, Islam came with their own ideals during 12th century, 13th century, and the existing Indian socio-cultural or religious cosmos of their own, that these two came together. And it was definitely a period of difficult initially, but later on there was a sense of amalgamation, intermixture, dialogue, and then a kind of new, what we term as an Indo-Islamic culture that emerged in Indian context. Indo-Islamic in every sense, up to architecture. Even architecture we teach of that period, we say that it is some influence from Islamic world and some influence from Indian techniques of making any building or architecture, developing any architecture. This all combined together, and it developed as a kind of a new brand of architecture and the new kind of cultural milieus and all that. With Islam, there was also, what we also call very segment of spiritual Islam, that is Sufism, that also came along with our main current Islam. And Sultanate period saw several great Sufi saints also, starting with Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti at Ajmer, also Hazrat Nizamuddin Aulia in Delhi. They, what I'm trying to suggest is that they also became part and parcel of developing an Indo-Islamic kind of socio-cultural amalgamation, because Sufi Khanqahs played a vital role in bringing people from different walks. There was no prohibition. There was no kinds. There was no what you call saying no to anyone. Sufi Khankas are open for all those poor, destitute, belonging to any religion on the world. And now, one thing which we find is that there was hardly any compulsion as far as the conversion of non-Muslims to Islam was concerned. So, but it is very much clear that these khanqahs also played a greater role in letting the people convert to Islam without any compulsion and all that. That was the pure, the what you call the beauty of Islam. That under a Sufi saint you can be converted so easily. I mean, you can adopt the choice of your own religion. There was no compulsion in that way. So Sufi Khanqahs played a vital role in a spread of bond between Hindus and Muslims. Even if you are not converting, then thousands were visiting the Sufi saints' dargah and all that, and that led to the rulers of Delhi Sultanate did not force anyone. There was hardly. I mean, it is very difficult to find any example of passing an order that such and such area or such and such region should be converted. The people of that area should be converted to Islam. There is hardly any reference in Sultanate period. So, saying that a Muslim ruler from Sultanate period was so cruel, so brutal, it is totally wrong in that sense. The rulers do not. I mean. What do you call though? But the rulers have their aim. They the Muslim rulers of Sultanate period did not aim to convert, to make it as an Islamic state, something like that. They facilitated the things for everyone. They facilitated that Muslims and Hindus should remain under one banner. There is no problem at all, and we are not forcing anyone to get them to convert it. So, blaming them and blaming for the massacre of the Hindus, and the conversion of the Hindus by the right-wing historians of our time is totally false and totally unestablished. It is not, I mean, in any academic domain that there was a forcible conversion or something like that. There might be certain kind of, what you call, exceptions and all that, but it is not. That was not a part of the policy of the government and the policy of the ruler or sultans. I mean, during the Sultanate period, this issue of Hindu-Muslim relations generated a kind of intermixture. But I mean, the thing is that it took again the model provided by the Arab rulers in the Arabian Peninsula that they should be considered as zimmis, they should pay jizya, and they should remain. I mean, they should live like how they were living in they were living in Arabian Peninsula. So there is hardly any stance of forcible sort of things. Though ulemas of that time, sometimes they I mean, what you call, they provoke the rulers to adopt a very different policy, but that did not happen. Take the extent of Ziauddin Burni. He says that a Muslim historian, in his book, he says that the ulama's view he highlighted that the Hindus were not people of the book, but infidels and pagans, as they did not have a divine book, nor prophets to guide them. So he believed that they should be regarded differently from the Jews and Christians. ये एक बात जो है बहुत ही यहाँ के लिए बड़ा अजीब सा था मामला कि काफिर वर्ड का जो इस्तेमाल है वो हिंदुस्तान के कंटेक्स्ट में किया जाता है. काफिर are those people who are people belonging to away from the four revealed books. That is why most of the Islamic scholars considered Indian population, non-Muslims, as kafir, because they did not fall in any category of the people belonging to a book. So how the kafir should be treated? That was also very debatable point of view during Sultanate. I'm not negating it, but the thing is that, of course, we know our ulama, we know our Sufis, we know our every section of the society that how differently they discuss, how they differently they treat the things. So a certain section of the ulama class, they considered Indian Hindus as kafir, but rulers were tolerant and rulers did not do much harm to, as far as the things, much harm or much kind of discrimination to the Hindus. Again, in Fatawai Jahandari, Jauddin Barni says that the question that if a Muslim ruler with political power, wealth and resources tolerates religious practices of the non-Muslims and fails to prevent their influence, how would Islamic teachings be propagated and paganism eliminated? ये क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं, ये कह रहे हैं कि जब आप उस तरह से नहीं ट्रीट करेंगे नॉन-मुस्लिम्स को, मुस्लिम नॉन-मुस्लिम के साथ आप, इसका मतलब है कि आप डिस्क्रिमिनेट करें जो है, तभी तो आप मतलब बुत परस्ती को खत्म करेंगे, आप काफिरों को जब तक आप खत्म नहीं करेंगे तो इस्लामिक स्टेट या इस्लाम कैसे जो है प्रोपगेशन होगा इस्लाम का स्टेट इंडिया में. So these questions always came up, but rulers like the Tughlaqs, Sultan Muhammad Tughlaq is known for being the most tolerant sultan during the period of the Delhi Sultanate, which affected the political environment which his successors ruled, and thus created an environment of moderate tolerance. Muhammad Tughlaq expanded and even encouraged Hindu religious freedoms, even going as far as to participate in Hindu festival of Holi. Sources from the time confirm that, as historian Jauddin Barni, much to his disapproval, reveals that the Hindus were indeed able to practice their religion freely and openly under Muhammad Tughlaq. In the cities of the Muslims, the customs of infidelity are openly practiced. What he quotes कि मुसलमानों के इलाके में जो है काफिरों के जो है वो practices हो रहे हैं. Idols are publicly worshipped, and the tradition of infidelity are adhered to with greater resistance than before. Ibn Battuta also, in his book Rehla, he reveals that the Hindus had many religious freedom at time, as he writes on how Hindus were able to freely make holy pilgrimage to the Ganges and other places. So that is ample evidence of tolerance and religious freedom of the Hindus during Sultanate period. Perhaps I would find the time shorter and unable to or entire things, so I skip it to the Mughal period now. There are in Mughal period, I start with what you call the conquest of northern India by Babur, Zahiruddin Babur, who the problem with the modern historians of the right-wing sentiment are that they consider the coming of the Mughal as something very serious. They do not take cognizance that there were already 400 years of rule of Muslims in India before Mughals. The Mughals came, So, what is the problem with the Mughal? I don't. I could not understand that why they are so much anti to the something like that. The Babur or Baburid, After the coming of the Babur, entire everything had happened. There are already Muslim rules in India before Babur, but they do not know, or perhaps they try to they make a pretext of not knowing, and they start with Babur. Babur defeated a Muslim ruler, first thing, and whatever harm it happened to the Lodi Empire, not to any other Hindu empire or something like that. Of course, with that conquest, he also finished up with the other rulers, Rana Sanga and others. So, what is the problem? It is a medieval period when Babur came, and medieval times. History should be seen from the times of that we are talking. We are not talking of modern period that democracy and other things are there. It is a big Badshahad, and words of Badshah is the law. So, what I'm trying to suggest is that, all those the Mughal things should be taken into that context. For example, and another thing is that there is only presumptions and the accusations on the Muslim, the Mughal ruler, that they killed millions of people, they destroyed large number of temples, they banned everything, they massacred the Hindus and all that. From where from where they get these sources? The sources, do they have any source? No. There is a kind of what we know, that is the WhatsApp university that is spreading misinformation. कोई एक आईटी सेल से जो है कोई एक हिस्टोरिकल चीजों को ला करके उसको मैनिपुलेट करके उसको छोड़ देते हैं उसको पब्लिक डोमेन में, and it reaches to millions. While we historians teach 30-40 students in the classroom, our message could not go to the entire our Indian what you call political domains and all that. But their message reaches far and wide, and then the history is distorted. So Mughal period had been the history of Mughal period had been so much distorted that even Akbar had been maligned like anything. Akbar, the most tolerant monarch of the entire Mughal period, he has also been maligned, and he is being removed from the synopsis or the syllabi of the school textbooks and all that. If you do not teach Akbar like emperor, then whom you teach? And what they say, even so much so that they say that the Aligarh battle, Akbar was defeated. Akbar was defeated by Rana Prat. And they do not go beyond that. क्या उसके बाद क्या होगा? किसने हुकूमत की क्या वो भूल जाते हैं. So it is very much, it's a sad for the history of the Mughal period that without going to the Persian original sources and without providing any kind of evidence, they just, the right-wing historians, unfortunately, they are just trying to poison the entire academic circle. That look here now what the Mughals had done. But of course, all those written evidences are there in the archives, in the library, the form of books and all that. There was hardly, their allegations remained without any base. So much so that the Babur writes in his Wasiyatnama for his son and successor Humayun that if you want to rule India, you should not go for animal slaughter or cow slaughter, something like that, because it hurts the sentiments of the non-Muslims. Meaning by that, he knew that it is very sentimental for them. And if you are ruling a plural country like India, which is, a plural country like India, you have to take care of all these things. If you ban cow slaughter, it will help to earn a place in the hearts of the majority population. And this a small gesture can go a long way in what he calls binding people into submission with a chain of obligation and gratitude. This is the Wasiyatnama and the part of Wasiyatnama of Baba. Now, of course, with the developing time, with the progress of time, you find that, for example, a case of this ruling class of the Mughal ruling class. During Akbar's time, it was the Rajputs, apart from Irani, Turani, Shahjadas and others, a number of Rajputs were taken into, to form the nobility of the Akbar's court. And it was around 15% during that time. The Rajputs were 15 to 16%. And interestingly, the most maligned emperor, Aurangzeb, he has around 32 to 33% of the Hindu Rajput nobles in his court. This is the one very, this solid evidence that Aurangzeb was not that bigot that the others frame him. अगर ऐसा होता तो वहां पे एक भी नॉन मुस्लिम नहीं होने चाहिए थे. But he tolerated and he imbibed all those elements also in his court. And he meant the rule of Hindustan as Hindustan was a plural. It was very, it enjoyed plurality. The country was a plural, linguistically, religiously, and other, in aspects we find it. So Aurangzeb even realized that, look here. So just take up the case of this, demolition of temples and all that. But Richard Eaton, a great scholar of this medieval monuments and all that, he says that during 800 years of rule of the Muslims, only 89 temples was demolished in some circumstances, and that too, was certainly it was a political expedient and all that. 800 years of rule of and 89 temples. And what we see nowadays, everywhere we have mosques and all the dargahs are being demolished and without any count. And Aurangzeb, he is blamed for destruction of temples and all that. There were certain cases of demolition of temples, but another aspect is that Aurangzeb provided a lot of relief and a lot of maintenance to different temples. There are farmans available everywhere. Aurangzeb also led to the Mahakal temple, giving a lot of money to that maintenance. For 100 bighas of land were given to the Mathura temple, also Kamakhya temple, and several other examples are available, which suggests that the Aurangzeb was not that much of cruel as it has been portrayed. I'm not defending any ruler, but rulers have their own wills and wishes. But the thing is that what I find so surprising that even after 800 years of rule, India was not converted to Islamic state or something like that, which surprises anyone. Otherwise, the might was the right at the time. Anything could have happened. But since Mughal rulers were so tolerant and so mixing and so providing relief to all those, the non-Muslims, India remained purely, a tolerant country. Under the Muslims, Muslim rulers tolerated it. I think I have made my point because time is running short.
Thank you very much, sir, for this very good and reasonable analysis of your topic, presentation of your topic regarding non Muslims under Muslim rulers in India. Uh, there is a huge issue and kind present time that Muslim rulers, especially in medieval India, have exploited non Muslim masses. Professor Raja has tried his best to explain the historical facts and the evidences, very authentic sources. He tried to prove that Muslim rulers were unbiased towards non Muslim masses. Sir, it was really a very excellent lecture and very suited to the present needs of our society. Sir, there is a question. Mughal rulers, especially Emperor Akbar, was very liberal and treated people of different religions equally. But he is also attacked now. His policy is attacked that he was not a liberal ruler but a very clever ruler. Very clever king. So, as a historian, how can you explain this?
Unfortunate, very unfortunate. For a long time, for rather century, that Akbar was being seen as a very tolerant monarch and all that. Now, what happened within these 10 to 15 years of time that Akbar has been, now Akbar is being also demonized. I think that it is a misuse of history by the political clique. That so it's like Hitler also used history for showing that the Germans are the Aryan race and the superior race to rule the world. Now our political dispensation also is trying to show that look here, there is nothing like Mughal. Mughal should not be taught in the school and should not be taken as seriously. If Akbar will not be taught in the school, then how Rana Pratap would come up? The hero of the what you call our right wing the historians. So how can you remove Akbar from the textbook and all that? Akbar, if Akbar would have declared he just stayed as an Islamic Christian, then what would have been their reaction? Akbar did not do anything like that. Akbar just had political aims of expanding his empire by taking Rajputs into confidence, marrying Rajput princes and all that. It was all just for political things, nothing else. So Akbar has been wrongly misinterpreted, wrongly interpreted or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. No question. If we see the present state of affairs, history is being distorted. Mughals have been removed from the school curricula. What is the role of historians in internationally renowned university, that is Aligarh Muslim University and another university, Jamia Millia Islamia, in the restoration of ancient, medieval and modern history? Which facts are removed? What is your role in the restoration of these, the restoration of history? Because this is very important so far as present situation is concerned.
Yes, right. Quite right that it is very tough times that the historians are facing, because it is not the historians only. No, everybody had become historian. The problem is that those who do not even know ABCD of history, they have become historians. And you see on media, television channels and all that those who are hardly aware of history and the sources, they are also speaking on the history of Aurangzeb or history of Jahangir or Akbar. What I feel is that the task remains very tough for the historian, because you had to send your message to the masses. Those research books and all that, they're kept in library and in archives. But the thing is that if you unless you bring out to the masses, our channel is very small. The thing is that our audience is very small. But what I have already said, that we only teach 40 students, 50 students in our class system. But how we could match those misinformation which is just coming out from the WhatsApp University or spurious literature being produced by the right-wing segment of our society. It is our challenge. I mean, like historians like Audrey Trusky and others, they have provided a lot of ample evidence that Aurangzeb was not like that. But Audrey Trusky is being criticized by or attacked by the right-wing historians. So it is very tough time we are facing. But we are very hopeful. We are very hopeful that a time will come when everything will be settled and history will remain history. Those who know Persian sources and all that, they only should talk on Mughal history or Sultanate history, something like that. This should be, confined to that only. Well, the person should be asked that whether you know the sources or not, whether you have gone through the original sources or not. How can you say something like that the औरंगजेब जो है जब तक 10,000 ब्राह्मणों को कत्ल नहीं कर देता था तब तक वो नाश्ता नहीं करता था. These kind of things are being told and taught in several states. ये क्या है, ये क्या चीज कर रहे हैं, ये हिस्ट्री के साथ कितना बड़ा खिलवाड़ कर रहे हैं. 10 मन ब्राह्मण को लाके करने, तो उसके किसी ने बहुत अच्छा जवाब दिया कि अगर इसी रेट से अगर चलता रहता तो एक भी ब्राह्मण हिंदुस्तान में नहीं बचता. जितना दिन औरंगजेब हुकूमत किया है 50 साल से ऊपर का, तो कितने ब्राह्मण बचते हिंदुस्तान में. तो this some certain, we laugh at such kind of distortion of history. We are very hopeful. I think that hopeful that a time will come when everything will be settled and truth will prevail, inshallah.
I think you are the part of IO Center for Historical and Civilizational Studies, along with your director, Professor Saeed Jamaluddin Sahab. You should think over on these lines and guide us how to work for the restoration of the historical facts and the history. Thank you.
At IOS chapter in Aligarh, we have been doing a lot of sessions, we invited a number of historians and scholars, and we time to time and fortnightly we organize one or the other lecture, or we try to bring out several others also, not only historians and all that, even common people also, so that things should go far and wide. And with this kind of efforts, definitely, the message will go to the publications and all that. We hope that publications should be distributed to mostly to those who are interested in history and knowing the facts and correctly. That the thing is that IUS publication also helps a lot. Because one publication I quote, that is V.N. Pandey's very small monograph on Aurangzeb, that he made clear that how Kashinath Vishwanath temple was, the question of Kashi Vishwanath had been addressed there, that it was not demolished, but it was rather some kind of heinous work had been done over there. That is why Aurangzeb took an action that demolished the portion where that Brahmin priest was involved in some kind of very nefarious act. Killing one queen of the Raja of Raja who was associated with Aurangzeb. So such kind of things should be brought out. Otherwise, we are hopeless. In that sense, that a lot of allegations are on Mughal Empire and Mughal rulers, which are totally baseless and all that. We have to highlight from time to time all such things which are needed for our time, which are the essential for not becoming essential. We had to address and we had to retort those things which are in the public domain.
Thank you very much.